The starship Elysium drifted silently through the void, its sleek silver hull reflecting the faint light of a distant sun. On board, Captain Ilara Voss stood at the observation deck, her hands clasped behind her back as she gazed out at the endless expanse of space. The crew of the Elysium had been on a deep space exploration mission for over a year, charting uncharted systems and making first contact with alien species. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to discover. "Captain," a voice called from behind her. It was Lieutenant Jackson Reed, her second in command. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface of Kepler 452b. It's not like anything we've encountered before." Ilara turned, her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Jackson hesitated, his expression a mix of awe and unease. "It's not a language. Feeling. Sensation. It's like they're trying to communicate with us on an emotional level." Ilara's heart quickened. Emotional communication. This was unprecedented. "Put it through to the main console. Let's see what we're dealing with." The crew gathered around the central holographic display as the transmission played. At first there was only static, but then a wave of emotions washed over them. Sorrow, longing, and an overwhelming sense of caution. It was as if the aliens were warning them to stay away. "Captain," Jackson said, his voice barely above a whisper, "they're afraid of us." Ilara's mind raced. Why would an advanced alien species be afraid of humans? They had encountered other civilizations before, some more technologically advanced, others less so. But never had they been met with such fear. "Prepare a landing party," Ilara ordered. "We need to see this for ourselves." The surface of Kepler 452b was a lush, vibrant world, teeming with life. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flowers, and the ground was covered in a soft, moss-like vegetation. As the landing party stepped out of their shuttle, they were immediately struck by the beauty of the planet. But there was something else, a palpable tension in the air, as if the very planet itself was holding its breath. The aliens, known as the Canary, were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They were tall, slender beings with translucent skin that shimmered like opals in the sunlight. Their eyes were large and luminous, filled with an ancient wisdom that spoke of countless millennia of existence. But there was also a deep sadness in those eyes, a sorrow that seemed to permeate their very beings. The Canary approached cautiously, their movements graceful and deliberate. They did not speak, but instead communicated through a series of gentle, melodic tones that resonated within the minds of the humans. The message was clear: "Do not touch us." Ilara stepped forward, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. "We mean you no harm," she said, her voice steady. "We come in peace." The Canary's response was immediate and filled with anguish. "You do not understand. Your touch is death to us." Ilara's heart sank. "What do you mean? How can our touch harm you?" The Canary's tones grew more urgent, more desperate. "Your species carries a darkness within you, a corruption that spreads like a plague. We have seen it before long ago. It destroyed our kind once, and we cannot risk it again." Ilara's mind raced. A darkness, a corruption. What were they talking about? "Please," she said, her voice pleading. "Help us understand. We don't want to harm you. We want to learn from you, to coexist." The Canary's response was filled with sorrow. "Cannot. The risk is too great. You must leave this place and never return." Back aboard the Elysium, the crew was silent, each lost in their own thoughts. The encounter with the Canary had left them shaken, their minds filled with questions and doubts. "Captain," Jackson said finally, breaking the silence. "What do you think they meant?" What kind of darkness could we possibly carry? Elara sighed, her gaze distant. I don't know. But I intend to find out. Over the next several weeks, the crew of the Elysium pored over every piece of data they had collected from Kepler 452b. They analyzed the Canaries' communication, studied their biology, and even attempted to decode their history. What they discovered was both fascinating and horrifying. The Canari were an ancient species, one of the first to achieve sentience in the galaxy. They had lived in harmony with the universe for millions of years, their civilization thriving and peaceful. But then they had encountered another species, a species much like humans. These beings, known as the Vorath, had been explorers much like the humans. They had come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. But the Vorath carried with them a hidden darkness, a corruption that spread like a virus. It was not a physical disease but a metaphysical one, a corruption of the soul. The Canari, with their highly empathic nature, were particularly susceptible to this corruption. The Vorath's touch had infected them, spreading despair and madness throughout their civilization. In the end, the Canari had been forced to isolate themselves, cutting off all contact with the outside world to protect themselves from further contamination. And now they saw the same darkness in the humans. Elara sat in her quarters, staring at the data on her screen. The implications were staggering. If the Canari were right, if humans carried the same corruption, then they were a danger to every species they encountered. But how? How could they not know about this? How could they not feel it? She thought back to Earth, to the wars, the violence, the hatred that had plagued humanity for centuries. Was this the darkness the Canari spoke of? Was this the corruption that threatened to destroy everything they touched? Elara's heart ached with the weight of it all. She had always believed in the potential of humanity, in their ability to rise above their flaws and achieve greatness. But now she wasn't so sure. The Elysium returned to Earth, its mission a failure. The crew was silent, their spirits heavy with the knowledge they had gained. Elara stood before the United Earth Council, her report in hand. The Canari have shown us a truth we cannot ignore, she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within her. We carry a darkness within us, a corruption that threatens not only ourselves but every species we encounter. If we are to survive, if we are to truly explore the stars, we must confront this darkness. We must find a way to overcome it. The council was silent, the weight of her words sinking in. It was a truth they had long ignored, a truth they had buried beneath their ambitions and their pride. But now it could no longer be denied. Years passed and humanity began to change. They turned inward, seeking to understand the darkness within them. They studied their history, their psychology, their very souls. It was a long and difficult journey, filled with pain and struggle. But slowly they began to heal. The Canari watched from afar, their hearts filled with hope. They had seen the potential for greatness in the humans, just as they had seen the potential for destruction. And now they saw the humans taking the first steps toward redemption. One day, a transmission reached the Elysium, now under the command of a new captain. It was from the Canari, their melodic tones filled with a new emotion, hope.